Ordinarily, we think of narcissism as an inordinate love of the self, with a corresponding lack of interest and feeling for other people. The narcissist is depicted as selfish and greedy, as someone whose attitude is always me first, and in most cases, me only. But this picture is only partially correct. Narcissists do show a lack of concern for others, but they are equally insensitive to their own true needs. Often their behaviour is self-destructive. Moreover, when we speak of narcissists' self-love, we need to make a distinction. Narcissism denotes an investment in one's image as opposed to one's self. Narcissists love their image, but not their real self. They have a poor sense of self. They are not self-directed. Instead, their activities are directed toward the enhancement of their image, often at the expense of the self. But aren't we all concerned about our image, and don't we invest a lot of energy trying to improve it? Many of us spend considerable time and money selecting clothes that will create the kind of image we wish to project. We believe that appearance is important, and we often go to great lengths to present a favourable appearance. We want to look younger, more beautiful, more viral, more chic. Some people even resort to plastic surgery to achieve these ends. This preoccupation with appearance is so much part of our way of living that we may regard a person who neglects his or her appearance as being emotionally disturbed. Are we all narcissistic then? Does it mean that narcissism is a normal aspect of the human personality? The answer is no. Narcissism is a pathological condition. A distinction must be drawn between a healthy concern for one's appearance, based on a sense of self, and the displacement of identity from the self to the image, which is characteristic of the narcissistic state. This view of narcissism is in line with the Narcissus myth from mythology. Let us now look again at the psychiatric history of the term narcissism. It was originally introduced to explain the behaviour of people who derived an erotic excitation from looking at, caressing, and fondling their own bodies. Such behaviour was once considered a perversion. However, Freud recognized that some aspects of this attitude could be found in other disorders, and perhaps even in normal people. In developing his thinking on narcissism, Freud characterized schizophrenia as entailing an equal loss of libido interest in people and things in the external world. Freud then distinguished schizophrenia from obsessional neuroses and hysteria, in which there is also a disturbed relationship to sexual objects. The difference, according to Freud, is that in the neuroses, sexual interest or libido is still attached to the object in a form of fantasy, although the motor activities needed to establish a real relationship are blocked. In schizophrenia, on the other hand, the libido is withdrawn from the object or its image and focused on the self-image, producing megalomania. In Freud's own words, the libido withdrawn from the outer world has been diverted onto the ego, giving rise to a state we may call narcissism. A question arose in Freud's mind, as it must in ours. What is the difference between the narcissistic perversion and autoerotic activities such as masturbation? No one would characterize masturbation as narcissistic, although sexual satisfaction is derived from fondling one's own body. The difference is that in masturbation, the body is recognized as the self. In a perversion, however, one sees one's body as a sexual object, that is, as another person. One is not identified with one's body, but rather disassociated from it. Narcissus, in the myth, for instance, was not in love with himself, but with his image, which took on an independent reality. Simply put, autoerotic activities are a manifestation of self-love, whereas narcissism is a form of image or ego love. It is a sign of the narcissistic tendency of our culture that people have become over-involved with their images. The current preoccupation with the body partly reflects this narcissistic attitude, as Christopher Lasch has pointed out. Yet, in part, it also reflects a concern for health. We need to be aware of our bodies and to engage in physical activities that will increase our vitality and aliveness. For too many people, however, the goal of exercise programs is to look good and not feel good. It is all for image. In accord with the current fashion ideal, they want a lean, tight, capable of performing with machine-like efficiency at the command of the will, or they may aim for a statuesque quality for the body of a young Adonis or a Venus. An extreme example is bodybuilding through the use of weights, which produces massive, overdeveloped muscles. It is a narcissistic enterprise that is harmful for mental and physical health. The heavy musculature may make one look strong, but it reduces the body's spontaneity and aliveness and seriously restricts breathing. Some indication of the current narcissistic devotion to fashion comes out in the title of a recent book on exercise and physical fitness. The book's title is "Don't Be Fat, Be Flat." The flatness refers to a flat abdomen, that is, no belly. But to really achieve this, one would have to tense the abdominal muscles to the point where abdominal respiration, a perfectly normal and healthy phenomenon, was almost impossible. And quite aside from its adverse effect on health, flatness is a negative quality from the point of view of books and taste. Describing something as flat denotes that it is without taste or appeal. To flatten someone is to demolish him or her, and in psychological terms, flatness of effect describes a lack of feeling. But, of course, in those terms we can appreciate why flatness may be viewed as a virtue by narcissists. None of this denies the value of looking good when it is an expression of a good feeling in one's body. In that case, looking good is manifested in bright eyes, glowing skin, a soft and pleasant facial expression, and a body that is vibrantly alive and graceful in its movements. Without a good body feeling, a person can only project an image of what he or she thinks a good-looking body should be. The more one focuses on this image, the more one is deprived of good feelings in one's body, maybe ending up with them hiding behind being fat, obese, chunky ankles, and all before the age of 40. Health complications incoming. Yet, despite all of this, in the end, the image of the individual proves a poor mask. It no longer hides the tragedy of the empty life within the narcissist.